In the small, dusty village of Amiri, where the red sand covered every path and hunger lived inside too many homes, there was a young girl named Glory. She was only 22, but if you looked into her eyes, you would swear she had lived 100 lifetimes. Life had not been kind to her. Since her mother died 5 years ago, Glory had known no peace. Her father, Mr. Thomas, once a kind farmer, had drowned himself in alcohol. The man who used to laugh in the fields now stumbled through life, cruel and broken. And as if that wasn't enough, he married again, to a woman named Grace, whose heart held nothing but hatred for Glory. Every day, they made her cook, sweep the compound, fetch firewood, farm from dawn until dusk, and often, she would sleep at night with an empty stomach. The villagers, oh, they pitied her, but fear kept their lips sealed. No one dared to cross Mr. Thomas. Then one day, a young man named Harrison arrived from the city. His clothes were torn, his shoes had holes, but there was something sharp in his eyes, a hunger not of the belly, but of hope. For 3 long months, Harrison worked on Mr. Thomas's farm, clearing bushes, planting cassava, carrying heavy loads from morning till night. But when he asked for his wages, Mr. Thomas would wave him off. "Come back tomorrow," he'd say. "Next week," he promised. But nothing ever came. One blistering afternoon, Harrison, tired and angry, went straight to the house. He said, "Sir, I need my money today." Mr. Thomas scratched his head, looking around, and then his eyes fell on Glory, who was sweeping the dusty compound. He laughed, a wicked, cruel laugh. "You want payment," he said. "Take that girl instead," pointing right at Glory. Glory's heart broke in that moment. She dropped the broom, fell to her knees, and cried, "Daddy, please, no." But he just shouted, "Shut up. You should be happy someone wants you." Mrs. Grace stood in the corner, arms folded, smiling cruelly. Harrison looked at Glory, this tired, broken girl, and for a moment, something stirred in him. He whispered under his breath, "She's beautiful." And when Mr. Thomas asked what he said, Harrison answered clearly, "I'll take her." Just like that, Glory's life changed. She packed her few belongings into a black plastic bag. No hugs. No prayers. Only her little half-brother, Sam, stood behind the house, waving through tears. And Glory followed Harrison into the unknown. The journey to the city was long and dusty. Glory sat by the window of the old bus, watching the trees blur past, her heart a mix of fear and strange hope. She whispered a prayer deep inside. "Lord, please, please don't let this man be like my father. Please give me peace." Harrison stayed quiet most of the way. Every now and then, he'd glance at her with a sigh, but he said nothing. When they arrived, the city was like another world, tall buildings, cars flashing past, people rushing everywhere. Glory gripped her bag tightly, trying not to look lost. They took a small tricycle to the end of a quiet street. Harrison knocked on a big black gate, and when it opened, Glory could hardly believe her eyes. The compound was huge and beautiful, neat flowers, a shining white house, a fountain singing in the corner. They didn't go into the main house, though. Instead, they walked to a smaller, neat building behind it, a one-bedroom boys' quarters. "This is where I live," Harrison said with a smile. He explained that he had just gotten a job as a security guard for the owner of the house, a kind woman named Mrs. Walker. She had given him the small house to stay in, free of charge, as long as he kept the compound safe. Glory looked around. It wasn't big, but it had a door that locked, a bed with clean sheets, and peace hanging in the air like perfume. For the first time in a long time, Glory smiled. "If this is God's purpose for me," she thought, "then so be it." 2 days later, she woke up to the smell of breakfast cooking. She stretched on the bed, no shouting, no beatings, no fear, only the soft light of morning kissing her face. She walked into the kitchen to find Harrison at the stove, turning something in a frying pan. "Good morning," she whispered. Harrison turned and smiled warmly. "Good morning, Glory." After breakfast, he asked her to dress neatly. They were going to meet someone. Nervous, she followed him to the main house. The tall black door opened, and there stood Mrs. Walker, elegant, kind-eyed, and smiling. Harrison introduced Glory as his wife. Mrs. Walker's eyes softened immediately. She took Glory's hand and said, "You're welcome, my dear. You have a sweet spirit. This house has enough room for peace. Feel free." For the first time in what felt like forever, Glory felt accepted. That evening, after cleaning the little house, Glory sat on the edge of the bed, watching Harrison fix a broken wardrobe handle. Her heart was heavy with words she needed to say. "Harrison," she called softly. He looked up. "When my father gave me to you, I felt like trash. Like something no one wanted. I thought maybe you'd be worse than him. Maybe you'd beat me too. Maybe you'd treat me like a slave." Tears welled up in her eyes. "But you didn't. You gave me peace. You gave me space. You respected me. You even cooked for me." Harrison sat beside her, taking her hand gently. "I would never hurt you, Glory," he said. "That's not the kind of man I want to be." He smiled shyly and confessed that he had liked her from the very first day he saw her at the farm. But back then, he had been too afraid, too poor, too ashamed to ask for her. So when her father offered her as payment, yes, he had been shocked. But deep inside, he had been thankful. It felt like God had opened a door neither of them expected. Glory looked down and whispered, "I don't love you yet, Harrison." Harrison only smiled and said, "That's okay. Love will come when it's ready. All I want is your peace." And on that night, under a small roof in the big city, for the first time in her life, Glory began to believe that maybe, just maybe, her story was only beginning. Thank you for watching. See you next story. Please share, like and comment if you liked my story.